Hello everyone, welcome back. I hope you're having a positive and productive day. My name is Kel with the Planner Owl, and today we're reviewing the May intention box from Cloth and Paper and discussing a few of the ways that you can utilize the items inside. I was hoping to film this sooner for y'all, but we've been having tornado weather down here in the south, and May's box was delayed twice, but hopefully next month's review will come a lot sooner. This is the second box of the new subscription. If you want to watch a review of the first box, I'll link it here in the top corner. So the theme for this box is graph note-taking, which I'm super excited about. I feel like this is the first straightforward functional theme that Cloth and Paper has released in a while. I personally love a graph grid layout. I've been using it for several years now, so I am curious to see what all they've included and how it can enhance our planning routines. Make sure to stick around until the end for my final thoughts and rating, and as always, feel free to leave me a comment below with any questions or topics that you'd like for me to include in my next video. Without further ado, let's hop in. So opening up our information packet, we have the member access card, the what's inside card that details what's in the box, and the July pop-up calendar. Next, we have the May monthly reflection card. These are little mirrored cards that they are including each month, and each card has a different word and question prompt. This month, we have latitude written across the front in an uppercase serif font, and you have 2 question prompts. How can you let go of what you can't control, and how can you find peace in what you can? If you want to see all the ways you can utilize these, I'll include a link to a previous review video in the top corner. Next, we have this using the grid card that has information and examples on ways that you can use graph grid layouts. This is a 5 by 7 inch card, so it's fairly large. It's a light to medium gray color and has a nice smooth cardstock. On the front, under the date stamp, you have using the grid, a guide created by Cloth and Paper, and then at the bottom, you have a few pros to using this layout, the ability to customize your pages, add structure and organization to your lists and plans, and how it allows you to be much more creative compared to other layouts. Flipping over, you have 5 examples of ways you can use a grid with each method written out at the bottom. Here it shows you how grid or graph layouts are great for to-do lists or other checklists, mini calendaring, charts or graphs to show trends or visuals, progress or habit trackers, and any type of chart where you need to separate detailed content from each other, like a budget or expense spread. These are all excellent ideas, and is the primary reason I love graph spreads so much. There's so many ways that you can use them to fit your purpose, and you can combine multiple plans on the same page. So for example, if you're taking notes in a meeting or class or something, and you're copying down data from a textbook, you can use a portion of your grid to take notes, another area to make a chart or drawing or something, and then have a separate designated area with a list of tasks that you need to complete around your assignments or deadlines. Another reason I'm a fan of grid layouts is that it keeps everything nice and neat on your page, especially when you're writing or drawing lines. Before I switched to graph, I used to use dot grids. I like being able to see my text and drawings, but my lines would always be just a little off. Graph grids really give you that structure so that your lines and your text stay super straight and clean. One tip to note is if you do decide to purchase a graph grid layout, make sure that the grid isn't too dark. If the lines are too dark or too thick, your ink is not going to stand out and everything will just kind of jumble together and it'll be really hard to read. When you're shopping, make sure to purchase layouts that have a medium gray or lighter grid so your text is much more prominent on your page. If you're new to planning or new to graph layouts in general, I think this is a really good card to have in your agenda. I do like that they included a journaling card, although this one is more instructional than decorative. It will probably be a hit or miss depending on your familiarity with this method, but I hope that they continue to include at least one journaling card each month. Next, we have this rhythm and ritual dashboard duo. This was a highly anticipated feature of this box. This set includes 2 dashboards that you can use together or separately if you choose to. So first we have the fluted dashboard. This is a really thick polycarbonate dashboard with this sort of ribbed design and texture on the front, and then it's attached to about 1/2 inch of hard flexible plastic where the holes are to add it to your planner. So I'm a huge fan of dashboards in general, especially those that I can layer in different sections in my agenda. I have to say, I am not a fan of this dashboard at all. I tried so hard to like this and make it work, but even though it's different and unique, it's just completely impractical, and I'll tell you why. So first, it's way too thick for use in a planner where you have a lot of sections. I have to fight for space in my agenda and it stays pretty stuffed. The thickness of this dashboard is thicker than an entire year of my Infinite Lotus monthlies and 4 months of Infinite Lotus weeklies. It just takes up entirely too much space and it leaves you with so much less room for your functional items. Second, unless you keep this in the front of your agenda, you can't write directly on top of it because of the texture. Unless you have a few pages where you have enough of a solid barrier between the page and your dashboard, you'll need to take your page out to write or put something thicker underneath your page to be able to have a smooth surface. The third reason is probably my biggest issue, and that is the overall design. The style will be a love it or hate it depending on your preference, but the way that the indentions are designed in the poly, it bends the light coming in, making whatever this sits on top of distorted. You can see here, unlike with vellum, which creates a sort of hazy overlay to your inserts, this completely distorts your view, where not only can you not see the text underneath, but the light is bouncing off the smaller text in different directions, which is extremely distracting. Typically, when you look at art or a design, unless you're looking at an optical illusion, kinetic art, or something where the intention and interest is in the movement of the art piece, your eyes need to have a focal point. Without that, they have a lot of trouble focusing and it can cause strain and stress on your eyes that can be really uncomfortable. At the end of the day, your planner is a functional tool to help you complete your tasks and keep track of your day to day. And as a functional planner, the goal is to have as few distractions as possible. This dashboard, while the idea is there, I just don't see it fitting in a functional routine as well as some of the other dashboards. For me, I have pretty sensitive vision, and this gave me a headache in less than 5 minutes, so I will not be using it. However, I think that if you do want to use this and you're prone to headaches or light sensitivity, one tip would be to layer it over a dashboard without text or with large text where the distortion is a lot less noticeable. The good thing is this does come with a film over the front and the back, so it's protected from scratches during the shipping process. You can also use it in a planner that maybe you're having trouble filling up. Just keep in mind that it does have a little bit of weight to it, so it may be better for an agenda that's on the lighter side. The second half of the duo is the Rhythm and Ritual dashboard. This is a smooth beige cardstock. Here we have Cloth and Paper 2024 and You Deserve Luxury printed vertically. And then we have 3 columns of text with a small photo print at the top, Rhythm printed vertically across columns in a dark shiny black, and Ritual here at the bottom in that same shiny text. I'm not going to read all the text here, but feel free to pause and take a read if you'd like to, but it talks about the benefits of having a routine when planning and how it's the best method to keep you organized and on top of your tasks. Similar to the first one, the idea here is great. This is really my style of dashboard that I typically enjoy. I love the colors, I love the meaning. I'm not a fan of the formatting here. The spacing of the small text is a bit odd. I'm not sure if it's the size of the columns, the font, or if it's because the spacing is justified, but it just feels really typewriter-ish and it just really doesn't flow that smoothly for me. This was designed to be used with the fluted dashboard, so maybe that has something to do with the formatting. Either way, not my favorite dashboard separately or together, but if you're a fan of this duo set, please let me know in the comments. I'm definitely curious to see how everyone is using this one. Next, we have one insert bundle this month. These sets are something new that Cloth and Paper is trying out. Instead of one insert, they're sending a few sheets of several styles, so we're able to try out different inserts at a time. That way, you can make an informed choice if you do decide to make a purchase. So this is the Daily Agenda Graph Bundle. Here we have 4 sets of inserts, a task planner, 2 different daily grid layouts, and a note grid. So starting with the task planner, you have 4 pages front and back. At the top, you have your date field and a 2-column grid spread, and then at the bottom, you have a separate 2-column spread for your tasks. This insert is very straightforward and really simple, and you can use these for so many things. Since these are daily agenda inserts, it looks like the intention for these are for daily tasks and planning. Looking at the demo page here, you can see that that's the example that they've laid out here. They have an affirmation for the day, a few notes and bullet points on the blank grid, and then in the smaller column, they've listed the weather, mood, and a little reminder. And then in your task area, they have their to-dos split between work and personal, and then they have several listed out. You can also use these just for to-do list in general or use it as an ongoing list. So maybe there's things that you need to complete around a certain project or event. You can use the blank grid to list the details or maybe some contact info or something, and then have the bottom to check off each task as you complete it. I love these inserts. I'll probably use it for content or blog ideas. I'm constantly looking for ways to map my thoughts, and I like how this has a designated space separate from the top grid. The second insert sample is an undated daily grid layout. They also include 4 pages here front and back. At the top, you have a field for your date and then your days of the week. Below that, you have an area at the top with time blocks from 5 to midnight, and then at the bottom is just a blank grid. So this is a pretty condensed layout that seems to be geared more towards time blocking or task planning as opposed to a spread that you could detail out your events for the day. Looking at the demo page for this one, you can see they have a task for each time slot and then various notes and bullet points at the bottom. If you do use daily inserts and you're in a task-heavy role, this may be a really good option for you. You don't have too much space to list multiple tasks on the same line, so that's something to keep in mind. But I do like how you have a pretty good size area for notes or a place to list priorities or things if you want to. I personally don't use dailies all that much. I do have some, but I prefer the ones that have half-hour blocks. They just tend to fit my schedule a lot better, so I probably won't use these. The third insert sample is similar to the second one. You have 4 pages front and back with the same formatting. The primary difference is your time blocks are from 1 to 12 and split the top area, allowing you to separate your tasks and to-dos between AM and PM, or depending on your schedule, work and personal. You also have a larger grid here at the bottom that gives you a little more room for notes. So this is an interesting take on a daily insert. I kind of like how the columns are split here. I think this is one of the pros about them sending test inserts. This is definitely one that I would want to try out before I purchased it. Both this and the previous daily are undated, so you can use these pretty much whenever you want. Again, I don't use dailies all that much, so I don't really have a use for these, but if you do, this might be a really good insert to try in your routine. The last insert in this bundle are these note and task inserts. These are very similar to the first inserts in the bundle. Only difference is that you have a lined notes and task section at the bottom. You can use these in the same ways that you do the others, and I like that they do include a smaller line section so you have a dedicated writing space. It also looks nice visually and it gives a little more versatility to your spread. Next, we have this tiny little set of page flags. These are paper flags, so you can write on them with regular ink. You have a set of 3, one in this icy blue color, a dark sand color, and then true to theme, a grid pattern. These come wrapped in this little matchbook cover, which is cute, but I don't know how easy this will be to keep closed. It's really cute and portable, but you may need to replace the sticker on this or maybe use a band or something to keep this closed if you plan on throwing it in your bag. Of course, you can always remove it from its wrapping and store them along with your other page flags. That's what I plan to do. I'm not a huge fan of these sort of wrapped pads and sticky notes that they've been sending lately. I always end up removing the outer coverings, but if you like the look on the outside or you do plan on throwing these in your purse or travel bag, then this will probably be a win for you. Cloth and Paper does send a lot of page flags, but I actually don't mind this at all. I do go through them quite a bit. I tend to use the transparent ones more than the matte just because the paper ones tend to bend a lot easier, but I really like the paper ones for marking your spot on a page rather than marking the actual page. That way they're less likely to bend or get damaged. Another thing to note here is the paper texture of some of their cardstock. You may not notice it here because it's so small, but a lot of their dashboards and accessories over the past couple of months have had this sort of grainy cardstock, and I'm curious if this is the paper quality enhancement that they were referencing when they announced the changes with the new intention box. I don't hate the texture, but it feels a lot softer and less durable than typical cardstock. Maybe it's just a design choice for a few items, but I'll be curious to see if that's the direction their dashboards and paper covers are going. As for the page flags themselves, it's pretty tough to go wrong here, and I always have room for these. I've recently started using these in my content planner for tentative posts, so these will definitely get used in the near future. The next item we have are these graph pad sticky notes. Here you have a pretty nice size sticky set with a light gray cover, and this is a perfect example of the new cardstock that they've been sending lately. As you can see, it's this really subtle grainy texture. It almost feels less durable than cardstock, but more durable than paper. It's super soft though, and it feels really nice in your hands. So on the front here, you have daily note embossed in the cover, and then daily graph sticky notes, the number of pages, and the size of the pad below that, along with the logo. And then flipping over, you have the cloth and paper logo in the center with the barcode at the very bottom. Opening this up, you have a really nice format to these notes. At the top, there's a space for the date, and then directly below that, we have a grid time block from 5 a.m. to midnight. In the center, there's a space for to-dos or a checklist to mark off your tasks, and then a blank grid for notes at the bottom. This is a really nice little sticky note set. I'm really glad that these are proper sticky notes instead of tear-off notepads. I feel like a lot of these sort of daily schedule sheets tend to be tear-offs, but I like the idea of being able to stick these to your monthly or weekly layouts and then move it around if needed. Because this space at the top is so small, you're obviously limited in how much that you can schedule, but I think that's okay since this is supposed to act more as a supplement to your existing planner. And similar to the page flags, you can always take this on the go. I'll probably end up cutting the top part off and leaving this open so I can quickly pull off each sticky, but the cover is a great option for those who may want to use it to protect your notes if you don't want them visible, or if you like the design of the cover. So next is the item I was looking the most forward to for this box, and that is this little ruler. So this is their acrylic straight edge ruler. The ruler itself is 9 3/4 inches, and it measures up to 8 inches. I love acrylic rulers. I have 3 of them myself. This one here is from Erin Condren. This one's from Amazon, and then I also have another one from May Paper Co., but I'm not sure where I put it. I may have left it at my parents' house, but these are really great for getting nice, precise lines when you're marking your page or adding lines or text on layouts without a lot of structure. I also use these to size washi tape or with my snipping tool to trim the edges off of sticky notes that may be too long or anything else that I need to fit in a specified space on my page. So this is pretty straightforward. On one side, you have your number of inches. On the second side, you have your notches. And then on the third side, you have the cloth and paper branding. I love that this is triangular, sort of pyramid shape. It's really unique and functional at the same time. The other great thing about this ruler is the size. Because it's so small, you're able to fit it in a lot of pencil bags and other smaller bags that you may want to take with you when you're out and about. I plan to throw this in the cloth and paper olive pencil pouch that they sent a while back. It is a tight squeeze, but it does fit inside, even if you have a lot of stuff inside like I do. The other benefit to rulers in general is that you can use them in just about every area of your life, making them an incredibly functional tool. The acrylic design here adds a really nice touch, and it can look really nice on your desk or shelf or wherever you want to keep it. I'm really happy with this ruler. It checks off all the boxes of what I expect to receive in these sub boxes: unique, functional, practical, and it still has a design element that complements a wide variety of design and color schemes. Next, we have this envelope bag. This is a light to medium gray color, and it's made out of the same textured cardstock that the page flag and sticky note cover are made from, but it's slightly thinner here. It's a pretty large size, so you'll be able to fit 8.5 by 11 paper in here pretty easily. So this was designed to hold documents and papers and things, but there's a few problems with this. First, the paper here is incredibly thin. It states that it's cardstock, but it's so thin and flimsy that I just don't see this holding up over time unless you're storing it somewhere and not really moving it. Second, it's made entirely out of paper. The only other material are the buttons in the front, meaning that this isn't going to hold anything of much weight. It's also going to bend and tear easily depending on what you put inside. I like the idea of paper, but I would have liked to see maybe some plastic lining or at least a thicker cardstock that's more durable. Third, The tie here is this really loose thread that I can see unraveling in a matter of weeks. There's nothing here to seal the ends, so it's only a matter of time before this starts to separate and get stringy. I think the intention here is good, but again, it's not a practical product. If you do like the design and the look of this and you want to use it, I highly recommend limiting how much you put inside. You could use this for documents that you don't grab for as often, like tax records or maybe your birth certificate or something. You can also use this to hold extra inserts and dashboards. Just be wary of the weight. I probably will not use this, so it'll likely end up in storage. But again, as long as you're not using this frequently or stuffing it full, then it should suffice for your needs. Last, we have our set of 2 writing utensils. This month we have 2 highlighters. So first is the Pentel Illumina Flex in the color Pastel Sky Blue. This is a dual-sided highlighter. On one side you have a chisel tip and on the other you have a fine tip. So doing a test here, it writes really nice and it almost looks like an icy turquoise color. The fine tip writes really well too. I'm not getting any skipping and it's a smooth finish. Definitely a solid highlighter. The second highlighter they included is the Pilot Friction Light in the color gray. This is an erasable highlighter, so that's always nice to have in your collection. Doing a test here, this one doesn't write as smooth and the consistency does feel a bit off, almost kind of waxy, but that's probably due to the type of ink that's used in order for it to be erasable. Testing out the eraser here, it removes all of the highlighter ink beautifully. I actually have an entire set of these. I used to use them a lot when I was in grad school and highlighting areas in my textbook. I don't remember the eraser lifting the ink in the books, so it may just be that the print needs to be dry for a certain amount of time before you use the eraser. I do think erasable highlighters are nice to have for those places like textbooks and certain materials that you may need to preserve and that you don't want to damage. Again, these don't have the best texture or consistency, but if you're looking for an erasable highlighter, I think these are a pretty solid option. I do wish that they included at least one pen in this box. I understand that they do try and match the writing utensil to the theme of the box, but for former Pinspiration subscribers, I think the reductions of pens was a bit of a bummer. I personally don't use a lot of pens, but it may be a good idea to include one pen and another writing utensil that matches the theme, so those subscribers who do enjoy getting a variety of pens each month still get that benefit from the new intentions box. And that wraps up the graph note-taking box, the second intention box from Cloth and Paper. So overall, I think this was a solid box. I do think it was slightly better than last month's. The quality of this one was a lot better, and I love that they had a much more functional theme and items compared to April. That being said, there were definitely some things that I was not a fan of and did not see a functional use for. I think the envelope bag was just a complete miss on all accounts. The quality and execution were both lacking, and because it lacks stability, you're really limited in the types of things that you can put inside. The dashboard duo is another area that I personally feel missed the mark as well. This might be a hot take, but I just don't see it working for most functional planners, and it takes up so much precious space that a lot of us have to manage very carefully. What I do like about the dashboard is its uniqueness. I haven't seen anything like it on the market, so kudos to Cloth and Paper for including something different. I love receiving these sort of one-of-a-kind items that are distinct, so although I wasn't a fan of the dashboard, I do hope that they continue to include items like that. I also like that nearly everything centered around the graph note-taking theme, and I'm so happy that they included an insert set. I'm not a fan of dailies, but I know a lot of people are, so that's a great addition to the box. My favorite item this month is the acrylic ruler. I use rulers quite a bit, but this is the first one that I've seen that's small enough to fit in my pencil bag, but durable enough to use with my snipping tool. My least favorite item is the fluted dashboard. It just doesn't work for me. I got a headache just by looking at it and trying to layer it with my other dashboards, so this is probably not one that I'll even keep in my collection. All in all, I'm rating this box a 7.85 out of 10, which is a half a notch better than last month's. They stayed true to theme and included some really practical items that I think were missing from April. We got more page flags and sticky notes, which are always nice to receive in our boxes. For me, I feel like there's still something missing, but I can't quite put my finger on it. I see the vision, I see the idea, but the overall execution is still below what my expectations were for the new intentions box. And maybe my expectations were a bit too high. I just think we're paying a pretty substantial price each month, and I really want the boxes to live up to that. Again, this isn't a terrible box by any means, but with the new standard, there's a higher bar now, and I plan to hold cloth and paper to that. I have seen the sneaks for next month, and I think June may be a pretty high quality functional box, so I'm really excited to see what next month brings. And that is it, you guys. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you do want to see more planning and organizational content, please hit the like button and subscribe. You would help my channel out a lot. Also, don't forget to follow me on Instagram for more planner tips and inspo, sending positive vibes your way. Until next time, have a wonderful rest of your day.